Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving headfirst into the Microsoft Automation Toolkit. We're talking Power Apps, SharePoint, and Power Automate.
Yeah, the power trio, you could call it.
Exactly. Think of it as, understanding how these three can seriously level up your productivity. Building custom solutions, organizing data, automating workflows. Our mission for you, the listener, to get a really clear, quick grasp on how they work together to, streamline your processes.
And we're drawing insights from Mastering Automation with Power Apps, SharePoint, and Power Automate by Rajamanikam and Tanamuthu. It's a really solid guide for the practical side of things.
It really is. And why should you care about all this? Well, because we're talking about getting rid of those, soul-crushing repetitive tasks.
Yeah.
The ones that just eat up your time.
Right. Imagine minimizing errors, freeing up your mental energy for bigger things, strategic stuff.
Achieving more with less effort, essentially. Automation, especially when these tools click together, it brings consistency, better data management, faster decisions.
And that seamless integration is key, isn't it? Within the Microsoft ecosystem, they're really built to talk to each other, to enhance each other, not just standalone tools.
Definitely. Okay, let's unpack this. Starting with Power Apps. If you've ever thought, man, I wish we had a simple app for this specific team thing, Power Apps could be the answer. What exactly?
So Power Apps, it's a cloud-based platform. It lets you build custom business apps with minimal or even no traditional coding. Think of it like a digital toolkit for creating solutions tailored to your specific challenges.
And you're not tied to your desk, right? You can use these apps on your phone, tablet, pretty much anywhere.
Precisely. It's designed to be cross-platform. And like we said, it connects to loads of data sources, SharePoint, Excel, of course, but also things like SQL, Salesforce. It plays really well with others, especially Microsoft tools.
That's a huge plus. And for those of us who aren't, coding experts, it's relatively easy to get started with.
Absolutely. You can get into complex logic if you need to, but building basic apps, the learning curve is pretty gentle. It makes it accessible for a lot more people in an organization.
Okay, so how do you actually build these apps? Are there different sort of flavors?
Yeah, there are three main ways, really. First, you've got Canvas apps. Picture a blank digital canvas. You've got total control. Drag and drop elements, design the UI exactly how you want it.
Super flexible, sounds like.
It is. Then there are model-driven apps. These are more data first. You define your data structure, what info you need, how it relates, and Power Apps basically generates the UI for you based on that model.
Okay. So less about pixel-perfect design, more about managing the data efficiently, like for CRM or inventory.
Exactly that. They're great for those kinds of data-heavy processes. And the third type is Power Apps portals. These let you build external websites so people outside your organization, customers, partners can interact with your apps securely.
That's interesting. Extending internal processes outwards. Now, when you first fire up Power Apps, what are the main areas you're looking at? The interface.
Right. You'll land on the home page. That's your hub for creating, managing, sharing apps. Then you've got clear app creation options, Canvas, model-driven, portal. There's the data connections area where you link up all your data sources.
Okay.
And finally, app settings, where you tweak things for specific apps like themes or permissions.
Got it. Let's make it practical. Say I want to build a really simple Canvas app, maybe for quick team feedback. Walk me through the first few steps.
Okay, so from the Power Apps home, you hit Create, then choose Canvas app. It'll ask if you want a phone or tablet layout.
Right, pick a layout, then I'm staring at a blank screen.
Pretty much. That's your canvas. Look to the left, you'll see the Insert menu. That's your toolbox, text boxes, buttons, galleries for lists. You just drag and drop them onto the screen.
Drag and drop. That really hammers home the low-code aspect. Okay. How do I connect it to some data? Let's say a simple SharePoint list of project names.
Good question. You'll head over to the Data tab, click Add Data, find SharePoint. You'll probably need to sign in. Then pick your SharePoint site and specific list.
Okay, so now my app knows about my SharePoint list. How do I make, say, a button actually do something, like add a new project name?
That's where you use property. For a button, the key one is onSelect. You click the button, go to its onSelect property, and you write a little formula. It's often quite simple, telling it what action to perform, like navigate to another screen or submit the data from a text box back to that SharePoint list.
Okay, so I've dropped in some controls, connected my data, told the button what to do. How do I check if it works?
Easy. Top right corner, there's a play button. Click that, and it runs your app just like a user would see it. It's your test mode. You can click around, enter data, see it.
Perfect. And assuming my simple feedback app works, how do I save it and let my team use it?
Go to File, then Save As. Give it a name, save it. Then you can share it. You control who gets access and what they can do. Just use it or edit it too. So yeah, Even a basic app is pretty straightforward, no deep coding needed initially.
It definitely sounds less intimidating. Okay, let's shift focus to SharePoint. We know it's important here, but what's its specific role when we talk automation with Power Apps and Power Automate?
Right. In this automation context, SharePoint is, well, it's your web-based collaboration hub. It's where you store, manage, share information. But crucially, it acts as the backbone for your automation data. It provides that solid, adaptable foundation.
So much more than just a document library.
Oh, absolutely. Document management is there, sure. But when you bring in Power Apps and Power Automate, SharePoint becomes this engine for organizing and automating how you handle data and processes. Its flexibility and connections are key.
And central to that are SharePoint lists.
Right.
Right. Tell us about those. Why are they so foundational?
Exactly. Lists are fundamental. Think of them as like smart online spreadsheets, structured data repository. You can store customer info, project tasks, inventory, whatever. Each list has columns defining the type of data, like text, number, date, choice, and rows, which are the individual records.
Can you give a quick example? Make it concrete?
Sure. Imagine tracking IT support tickets. You might have a SharePoint list. Columns could be ticket ID, username, issue, status, maybe a choice column with open, in progress, closed, assigned tech, date logged. Each row is one ticket, neatly organized. Makes it easy to manage, search, and automate things based on that data.
Okay, that structure makes sense. Now, the integration part. How do these lists actually work with Power Apps and Power Automate? This is where the magic happens, right?
You got it. For Power Apps, SharePoint lists are a super common, easy data source. You build your app to show data from the list, maybe in nice forms or views. Users interact with the app, and the app reads from and writes back to that SharePoint list. It's like a custom front end.
And Power Automate, how does it plug in?
With Power Automate, SharePoint lists and document libraries become triggered. So something happens in SharePoint, like a new item is added to that support ticket list, and boom, it kicks off a Power Automate flow.
Ah, okay.
That flow could then, say, automatically send an email notification to the assigned tech, or maybe uploading a document triggers an approval process.
So a change in SharePoint data can start a whole chain reaction in Power Automate.
Precisely. So how do you actually get SharePoint ready for this? What are the first setup steps?
Yeah, if I'm totally new, how do I even make a site in a list?
Okay, first step, go to your organization's SharePoint home. Look for an option like Create Site. You'll usually choose between a team site for collaboration or a communication site, more for broadcasting. Give it a name, set permissions, maybe add members.
Site created. Check. Now, how do I make one of those lists?
On your new site, find Site Contents. Click the new button, then choose List. You can start from scratch with a custom list or use a template like for tasks or contacts, which gives you some columns already set up. Then you define your columns, choosing the data type for each one.
Okay. Site and list are ready. How do I hook this up to Power Apps and then tell Power Automate to watch it?
Connecting to Power Apps is simple. In the Power Apps editor, go to the Data tab again. Choose SharePoint. Select your site, then the specific list. Power Apps then understands your list, structure the columns, data types, so you can easily use them in your app design.
And setting up Power Automate flows.
You go into Power Automate, start a new flow. When choosing the trigger, search for SharePoint. You'll see options like when an item is created or when a file is created or modified. Pick the one you need, then point it to your specific SharePoint site and the list or library you want it to monitor. After setting the trigger, you add the actions you want it to.
Right. So SharePoint is the organized data place, feeding Power Apps and kicking off Power Automate. Let's dive deeper into Power Automate itself now. What's its main job?
Power Automate used to be called Microsoft Flow, is really all about automating those repetitive, time-sucking tasks and business process. It lets you build these automated workflows called flows that connect your different apps, data, and services. And not just Microsoft stuff, lots of things too.
So if X happens in App A, Power Automate can automatically make Y happen in App B without anyone lifting a finger.
That's the core idea, yeah. And these flows can be started in different ways, depending on what you need.
Right. I remember there were different types. Can you remind us of the main categories?
Sure. First, automated flows. These kick off automatically based on an event. A new email arrives, a file gets uploaded, a SharePoint item is created like we discussed, event-driven.
Makes sense. What else?
Then you have instant flows. These you trigger manually, like clicking a button in Power Automate itself, or maybe a button in a Power App or on your phone. Good for tasks you do occasionally but want to automate the steps for.
On-demand automation.
Got it. Third, scheduled flow. These run on a schedule you set. Daily, weekly, first Monday of the month at 9 a.m., whatever you need. Perfect for regular routine stuff like generating the reports or sending the reminders.
Set it and forget it. Any others?
Yeah, the last main one is business process flows. These are a bit different. They guide users through a defined set of stages for a process. Think of it like a visual roadmap, ensuring often used in CRM systems for things like sales pipelines or service requests.
Interesting. More about guiding people than pure background automation.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get practical again. Walk me through creating a basic automated flow, that example of emailing when a new SharePoint item appears.
Okay. In Power Automate, click Create, then choose Automated Flow. Give your flow a name that makes sense. Then, for the trigger, search for SharePoint and select when an item is
Trigger selected. Next.
You'll need to connect to SharePoint if you haven't already. Just sign in, then specify the SharePoint site address and the exact list name you want this flow to watch.
Okay, so Power Automate is now watching that list. What's the action? Sending the email.
Right. Click New Step. Search for the Outlook connector or whatever email service you use. Choose an action like send an email, V2.
Okay. How do I tell it what to put in the email?
This is where it gets cool. You fill in the to, subject, body. You can type static text, sure, but you can also insert dynamic content directly from the SharePoint item that triggered the flow. So you could put the title of the new SharePoint item in the email subject or include the issue description in the body.
Ah, that's really useful. So the email can actually contain details about the new item.
Exactly. It's not just generic. Once you've set up the email content, you save Then, importantly, you test it. The easiest way here is just go add a new item to that SharePoint list yourself. In a little bit, the flow should run and you ship the email.
And if it doesn't work, if something goes wrong, how do I figure it out?
Power Automate has good monitoring tools. Go to My Flows, find your flow, and look at its run history. If a run failed, you can click into it and see exactly which step caused the problem and usually get an error message. Helps you debug.
Sounds helpful for learning. Are there any sort of general best practices for building efficient, reliable flows?
Definitely. One big one is keep flows simple if you can. If you have a really complex process, maybe break it into smaller linked, easier to manage, easier to fix if something breaks.
Makes sense. Smaller piece. What else?
Use conditions like if-then logic and loops for processing multiple items. They add flexibility, make your flow smarter.
Right, handle different scenarios.
And definitely build in error handling. What happens if a service is down temporarily? You can add steps to catch errors, maybe send an alert, or even retry the failed step. Makes your automations more robust.
Good point. Plan for failure. Anything else for it?
Yeah, be a little mindful of API calls, especially with external services. Every time your flow talks to another system, that's an API call. Doing too many might slow things down or hit limit. So just try to be reasonably efficient in how your flow.
Got it. Efficiency matters. So just to paint a picture, what are some really common ways people use Power Automate to boost productivity?
Oh, loads. Document approval workflows are huge. Upload a doc to SharePoint, it automatically goes to the right people for approval. Data synchronization is another key. Info systems, like copying new leads CRM. And automated notifications are super versatile, getting alerts for urgent support tickets, task deadlines, project updates, all sorts.
Those all sound like massive time savers and error route. Okay, we've looked at Power Apps for the interface, SharePoint for the data hub, Power Automate for the workflow engine. Let's revisit that integration idea. Give us another clear example of all three working together.
Okay, how about an employee training request? An employee uses a nice, simple Power App to request training. They enter the course name, dates, why they need it.
Right.
When they hit submit, the app saves that info as a new item in a dedicated SharePoint list for training requests.
Okay, data stored.
That new item creation instantly triggers a Power Automate flow. The flow could first notify the employee's manager via email asking for approval. Maybe the email includes all the details from the request.
Convenient for the manager.
Yeah. The manager might even be able to approve or reject right from the email. Power Automate then updates the request status in the SharePoint list, approved or rejected. If approved, maybe it sends a confirmation to the employee and forwards the request to HR for all automated.
That's a perfect example. Power App for easy input, SharePoint for organized tracking, Power Automate running the whole approval and notification process behind the scenes.
Exactly. It shows how they fit together. Power Apps for the human interaction, SharePoint as the reliable data store, and Power Automate as the process engine connecting. Really powerful combination.
So for you, our listener, let's boil this down. What are the absolute key takeaways from this deep dive into the Power Platform trio?
Okay, the core function. Power Apps is for building those custom apps, user interface, often with low code. SharePoint is your data foundation, storing, organizing, managing information collaboratively. And Power Automate is the automation engine, connecting everything and running work.
And the real magic is that integration, how they work together.
That's a key message. Their seamless integration lets you build and automate quickly without needing to be a hardcore programmer. It unlocks huge potential for boosting productivity, cutting down on manual errors, and just making business processes run smooth.
So as we wrap up here, we've covered the basics and the integration power of Power Apps, SharePoint, and Power Automate. It's pretty clear they offer amazing potential for custom solutions.
Absolutely. And it really makes you think about all those repetitive tasks, those clunky processes.
Which leads us to our final thought for you, the listener. Think about your own work. Is there one manual process, just one, that jumps out as maybe being right for automation? But imagine it. How could a Power App make input easier? How could SharePoint structure the data? And what steps could Power Automate handle automatically?
Yeah, just visualizing that possibility can be powerful. And look, if this has piqued your interest, we've really only scratched the surface today. The Microsoft Power Platform has a lot more depth. It's definitely worth exploring further if you want more automation.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Microsoft automation. Until next time.